Would you like to design your very own custom security system inside of UEFN? Well, you're in the right place because I will teach you everything you need to know in this tutorial video. All of the assets that I create in this video will be available for completely free inside of my Discord server by following the first link in the description. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is click the selection mode up here, and we're going to do modeling. And we want to drag out a cylinder like this. It'll snap to your cursor, and then when you click, it'll actually get placed down in the world. All of the settings look good, so I'm going to click accept, and I'm going to scale it down on the X and Z axis like this a little bit, and I'm going to drag it up just a little bit like that. Once you've done that, go ahead and select the cube, and we want this to be in the same position, just like this. And I'm going to click accept, and I'm going to scale this down so it just is a little bit bigger than the laser. So just like that, and then I'm also going to scale it down a little bit like this as well. There we go, just like that. We can go ahead and exit modeling mode by clicking the top and clicking selection. Once you're out of modeling mode, go ahead and search simple flat, and this will pull up a bunch of materials. I want the laser to be red, so I'm going to do this color red, and I want this little cube here, I want this to be black. So there we go. Now that we have this all done, we are going to copy and paste this, and we are going to rotate it 180 degrees, and I'm going to drag it up like this. Just like that. So now that we have our laser blocked out using some basic shapes, I have a model that I went ahead and made in Blender just for a reference, and I'm going to turn on grid snap and move it into place just like this. I will be including this for absolutely free down below in the description. Go ahead and click that first link. It'll take you to the Discord. There's no catch or anything like that. So if you want to follow along and copy what I'm doing, I encourage you to do so. Other than that, this method works for any kind of prop that you have. So if your base looks a little bit different, or maybe you have like a zone that you want to block off, you can use this same method. The shape just might be a little bit different. All right, so as you can see, the laser isn't quite tall enough, so I am going to scale it up just a little bit so it touches the top like that. And I'm going to drag this cube up as well so it's basically the same, just like that. Now what we want to do is go back to modeling mode. We want to select this first cube here on the top. We're going to select the laser, and then we are going to select the bottom cube. And if you go to the mesh processing tab, if you don't see the mesh rendering tab, by the way, I'm just going to drag this up so you can see what I mean. It'll say more. You can just go and select the mesh tab just like that. But now that we're in the mesh processing tab, go and click union. And before you click accept, it's important that you write to the last input object because we selected this cube at the bottom last. So if last input object is selected and we click accept, it will merge all of the objects together at this cube. And I've just found that doing this makes it a lot easier because if you want to rotate it or you want to scale it up and down, it'll scale from the bottom instead of the center. And to me, that just feels like a lot easier than having it be in the middle. Now that we have one laser complete, go ahead and duplicate it as many times as you want. I'm just going to fill this whole area one at a time. If you hold Alt and you click and drag, it will automatically create a duplicate and make it easier for you to duplicate things over and over again. So now that we have all of our lasers done, go ahead and select all of them except for the one in the middle, just like that. And once you have all of them selected, now we can select the one in the middle. And we're going to do another union. So we click union. Again, just make sure that you are writing to the last input object and then click accept. Just like that. So now we have one unified laser prop. I'm going to exit modeling mode and make a new blueprint by doing blueprint class. I'm going to click building prop, and I'm going to name this BP underscore laser prop, just like that. Go ahead and open it up. Now that we're inside of the new blueprint, click this static mesh component right here, and we are going to find the laser prop that we just created. And you'll notice this thing is absolutely huge. So what we want to do is if you hold shift and you right click the scale, it'll actually copy it to your clipboard, and we can go back to the blueprint and do shift left click, and it will copy all of the exact values from the viewport. Go ahead and compile that, save, and go back to the viewport. All right, so now we can go ahead and delete this and drag in the blueprint that we just created. All right, so now that we have the laser prop set up, we're gonna go ahead and drag out a few devices, and I'll show you what to do from there. So the first device that we need to look for is the trigger device. I'm going to drag this inside of here just like that, and I'm going to reposition it just a little bit so it pokes up above just like this. I'm also going to search for a timer device, and I'm going to drag that into the scene as well. I'm going to move it up a little bit just so we can see. And the last device that we need is a barrier. So same thing, I'm going to drag that in, and I'm going to position it right at the middle of these. So starting off with the barrier device, the settings might be a little bit different for you, but if you are following along, go ahead and put these numbers in. The barrier depth is going to be 0.1, the barrier width is going to be 2, and the height, you can just leave that how it is. Hey guys, one quick thing that I forgot to include in the video is that I actually have a material here where if you drag it onto here, the barrier will still show, but it won't have that like ugly barrier texture on it. And I didn't actually cover it in the video, but it's basically just a translucent material here with a texture that is basically empty. The trick here is that it has one tiny little pixel at the very bottom. I don't even think you can see it in the editor, but there's one tiny pixel in the bottom corner of the texture, and that basically creates an invisible material. In a past update, you used to just be able to clear the material and it would get rid of the barrier, but now when you clear it, it has this like weird kind of missing texture material, which is, I don't know why they changed that. So to fix that, I just have this material here. I just thought I'd include this as like a little tip for you because I forgot to talk about it in the video. But with all that out of the way, let's jump back into the tutorial. Moving on to the trigger device, go ahead and click on it. We want to disable vehicles, sequencers, and water. I'm going to leave the VFX and SFX on just because I want to demonstrate to you as easy as possible, but you don't need to put this in there. In fact, I actually recommend that you don't include the VFX and SFX just because it is a little clunky. I'm not a big fan of how it looks. All right, and the timer device, there is a few settings in here. You can leave the duration at 60 seconds. I'll show you more about that in a moment. We want the interaction to be off. This applies to everyone, and we want to have the completion behavior set to reset. Show on HUD is off. Audio effects is off. All right, so with all those settings out of the way, let's go ahead and begin working on the verse device. I know it may be kind of intimidating, but I promise you it is super easy, and I will walk you through every single step, so don't worry. All right, so the first thing you want to do is click this verse tab at the top and click Verse Explorer. We then want to right click on the content folder and click Create New Verse File. Make sure it's a verse device, not any of these other ones. And we're gonna name this Security System Device, just like that, and click Create. Once you have that created, you'll see this blue plus icon. Go ahead and double click it to open Visual Studio Code. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to delete all of this pre-placed code here that is left for us by Epic Games. You can also go ahead and put some parentheses here. This will just kind of round off the function, and it prevents the compiler from yelling at us. So the first thing we want to do is do @editable duration, and this is going to be type float. And I'm going to set this to 10 seconds. You can put this to anything you want, and it will be exposed inside of the verse device. So if you want to change this on the fly, you're totally welcome to do so. Below that, we want to do @editable timer device, just like this. And it's going to be a timer device. And that is going to be a timer device, just like that. Below that, we want to do another editable, and this is going to be a laser prop, and this is going to be of type creative prop, just like that. Below that, we are going to do @editable barrier, barrier, and this is going to be a barrier device, just like this. And finally, below that, we are going to do one more, and this is going to be a trigger. And this is going to be a trigger device, just like that. And so basically what this is this is just telling the verse device what devices like we want to access. So eventually what we're going to end up doing is we're going to link these devices to the ones we have placed in the world. Inside of the onBegin function, we want to do trigger.triggeredEvent.subscribe, and we want to pass in the triggered event, just like that. And what this is doing is this is basically just saying when the trigger gets triggered, do this. So we're going to design a function that will activate the security system. Below that, we want to do timer device.setMaxDuration, and we want to pass in the duration, just like that. Below that, we want to do barrier.disable. And finally, we want to do laserprop.hide. So basically what this is saying is that when the game starts up, the security system is going to be disabled by default, so that when they press the trigger, it will turn on and then go back to off. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to say triggered event, and we want to pass in maybe agent, because whenever a trigger gets triggered, it could be an agent, but it can also be triggered by vehicles or whatever. Even though we have the settings set to only player, the code will always return a maybe agent. So what we need to do is if agent is maybe agent with a question mark. Basically what this is saying is if it is an agent, we then want to spawn the activate function, and we want to pass in the agent into this function. Below that, we want to do activate, just like this, and this will just be a regular agent, and this will have the suspends function because we are going to manually sleep for whatever you have the duration set as. This is also going to be where the main bulk of the code is. It's only a few lines, so don't worry, but this is actually going to walk through the process of turning it on and then waiting and then turning the system back off. So the first thing we want to do is laserprop.show, and we also want to disable the trigger by doing disable, just like this. We then want to add the player to the ignore list. So add to ignore list, and we pass in the agent who triggered the trigger. And we then want to enable the barrier by doing barrier.enable, just like this. And then finally, we want to do timer device.start, and we want to pass in the agent. So basically what this is doing, it'll show the lasers, it will disable the trigger to prevent it from being triggered multiple times while the system's active. We're going to add the player to the ignore list. We are going to enable the barrier so nobody else can get inside, and then we are going to start the timer. And the timer itself isn't actually connected to the code, it's just a visual representation of how long the security system has left before it disables. All right, so now what we want to do is wait. So we do sleep, and we pass in the duration, just like this. And then we just do everything backwards. So we do timer device.reset, and we pass in the agent. We want to do barrier.disable, barrier.remove from ignore list, and we pass in the agent again, and we want to re-enable the trigger, just like this. And finally, laserprop.hide, just like that. So this is everything we need for the code. Let's go back to the editor and link all of the devices. So now that we're back in the editor, go ahead and click compile verse. It'll take a second, but then you will see a security system device. It'll appear in the content browser. Go ahead and drag that into the project. And you'll see here, there's the duration, the timer, the laser, all the devices that we put as editable. When I'm going and linking devices to the verse device, what I like to do is I like to lock this details panel just like this. And I'm going to start with the timer. So I click this little dropper button and I click it, and then I click it again and I press H on my keyboard to hide it. And the benefit of locking the details panel is this will never go away. No matter what you are selecting, it will always show what I need. So now I can go in and I can click the barrier, I select it, I click it again, and then I hide it so I know that it's linked. I'm going to do the same thing with the laser prop, click it twice, hide it, and then finally we just need to set the trigger and click it again and hide it. All right, so now that we've got all the devices linked, let's go ahead and launch a session and see the final result. All right, so now that we're in game, let's go ahead and give it a try. If I step on this trigger here, you can see that the barrier appears, the props appear, the timer starts, and you can walk through it because I'm on the ignore list. And then it goes away, and you know, you can do this as many times as you want. Other than that, that's everything you need to know on how to make a completely custom security system inside of UEFN. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, I just wanted to say thank you. I really appreciate your support. Like I said, I will be dropping everything available for absolutely free inside of my Discord server. So if you're not in there already, go ahead and join up. We've been growing absolutely like crazy recently, and I can't be more grateful for the number of people who have started coming in here and saying hi. I'd love to see you in there. I answer questions and I'm pretty active in there. Other than that, remember to smash that like button. It helps my channel out a ton, and I hope you enjoyed. Peace.